Hi mathematicians! Today we're going to go over some errors that I noticed that you were making when rounding. So to round to the nearest tenth, how many decimals do we need to use? How many numbers after the decimal point? Well, remember, 10 has 1 0, so we need one number after the decimal point. To round to the nearest hundredth, 100 has 2 zeros. So we need two numbers after the decimal point. For thousandths, we need 3 numbers after the decimal point because 1000 has 3 zeros. Now the one that a lot of people got the most tripped up on is integer. Integer means there are no numbers after the decimal. Now the other thing that messed a lot of students up is the rounding rule. If the next number is 5 or more, you need to add 1 to the last number. We'll do some more examples so you can see what I mean. So here is an example from an assignment that we did previously. Round 301.056 to the nearest integer. And this student wrote 301.056. Is that correct? No, this is not correct. We have integer written here. For integer, we need no numbers, 0 numbers after the decimal point. Here's my decimal point. I need 0 numbers after it. Now the number after is 0, which is less than 5. So I'm just going to cross all of those out and write 301. Let's do another example. Round 5.780 to the nearest integer. Again, we have integer. Integer means no numbers after the decimal point. Here's my decimal point. I'm going to cut it off here. So their answer here, 5, is an integer. But now if we look at the next number, 7, is 7 bigger than 5? 7 is greater than or equal to 5. So we have to add 1 to the previous number. So we're going to do 5 plus 1, and that gives us 6. And this is true because 5.7 is closer to 6 than it is to 5. That's why we round up if a number is 5 or more. And we round down if it's less, because it would be closer to 5, like 301 was closer than 302 to this number. Let's do a few more error analysis questions. Round negative 345.00678 to the nearest hundredth. So first thing, I see hundredth. Hundredth has 2 decimals. So we count from the decimal point, 1, 2, we write a line. We're going to cut it off there. So after 0, the next number is 6. 6 is greater than or equal to 5. So what do we need to do? We need to add 1. So we're going to do plus 1 over here. 0 plus 1, 1. So negative 345.01. Now, round to the nearest hundredth, square root of 63. So to do this, we're going to need to find out what the square root of 63 is. Now you can do it on your calculator, but since some of you don't have calculators at home, I'm going to show you how you can do it in Google. So here's Google. I'm going to type in SQRT parentheses 63. SQRT stands for square root, and 63 is the number we have over here. So if I press enter, it actually just tells me that number right away. So that's how they got this number here. let's check if it's rounded to the correct place. This says nearest hundredth. Hundredth, 2 decimals, 2 numbers after the decimal point. Do we have that here? No, they only wrote 1 number after the decimal point. We need 2 numbers after the decimal point. So let's count 2 numbers after the decimal point. Here is our decimal point. 1, 2, cut it off here. We look at the next number, 7. 7 is bigger than or equal to 5. So we're going to add 1. 93 plus 1 is 94. So the correct answer is 7.94. Let's look at a few more examples. Round 198.4087 to the nearest thousandth. Thousandths is our key word here. Thousandths, remember that's 1,000, has 3 zeros in it. So we need 3 numbers after the decimal point. Do they have 3 numbers after the decimal point? Here's their decimal. No, it's only 1 number. So here's my decimal point. 1, 2, 3 numbers, cut it off. The next number is 7. 7 is greater than or equal to 5, so we need to add 1. Everything before the decimal point stays the same. So 198.408 plus 1 is 409. Round the square root of 101 to the nearest thousandth. Well, let's check if they got the number correct. Going back to Google, square root of 101. Yep, this number is correct. Now it says to the nearest thousandths. Thousandths, we said, is 3 decimal places. Do they have 3 decimal places? Yes. Here's our decimal. 1, 2, 3. Cut it off. So they have the correct number of decimal places, but the next number is 8. So that tells me we need to add 1 to the previous number. So the previous number here is 49 plus 1 is 50. So everything in the beginning stays the same, and then we have 50. Let's do 2 more examples. Find the value of x in the equation rounded to the nearest hundredth. The equation is x squared equals 67. So if we have x squared, the inverse is square root. So they took the square root of both sides, that's good, and they put plus or minus, always something you need to remember. And let's see, square root of 67, that's the correct number. Now it says nearest hundredth. 100 has 2 zeros. So we need 2 numbers after the decimal. Here, 1, 2, and we cut it off. They have 3 numbers. This is the nearest thousandths, so that's not correct. Now the next number is 5. 5 is 5 or more. So we need to add 1 as well. So we're going to get x equals plus or minus 18 plus 1 is 19. Last question. Find the value of x in the equation below, rounded to nearest tenth. So we have 3x minus 6 equals 11. They did plus 6 on both sides, because that's the inverse of minus 6. So those canceled. 11 plus 6 was 17. 3x went down. Then they divide by 3 on both sides, and they left it as x equals 17 divided 3. All their work here is correct, and this is the exact answer. However, the question asks to the nearest tenth. So we need to find the decimal number. So if I put this in my calculator or in Google, I get 5.666666666. So we can write that as x equals 5.6666, and it keeps going. To the nearest tenth, we want one number after the decimal. So here's my decimal. There's one number. This number, next number, is greater than or equal to 5, so we add 1. X equals 5.7. And that's the answer. So always check, are they asking you to round your answer to a given decimal place? And how many numbers do you need in your answer for that decimal place? Remember, tenths, 1 decimal place. Hundredths, 2 decimal places. Thousandths, 3 decimal places. Integers, no numbers after the decimal. If the next number is 5 or more, remember to add 1. I hope this helps to clarify some errors. Have a wonderful day. Bye.